Good morning, everyone. If you would go ahead and take a seat, it's time for our Bible class to begin. As many of you know, over the last several weeks, we've been thinking about missions and the different mission works that we support. And I appreciate your generosity. A few weeks ago, we had our Missions Emphasis Sunday, and the congregation gave over $55,000, and that number is still fluid right now. But this morning, we have Jonathan Oliver with us. He's going to be giving a report on the Brightland Children's Home as a work this congregation supports. So obviously, it's a congregation that you support through the congregation, and we appreciate him and his time. He has lots to go through, and he's going to do his best to get you out on time. And so with that, we're going to go ahead and start a few minutes early. So Jonathan, thank you for being here, and thank you for talking to us about the work.
Testing 1 2. All right, I can hear myself. All right, got a good crowd this morning. It's great to be here. My wife and I, Jamie, she's sitting back there, beautiful redhead back there. She goes with me on every single one of these. She loves, even though she's heard this a million times. But normally our kids are with us, but I've got one at Freed Hardeman right now. That's kind of weird to say. I'm not supposed to be that old. And then I've got another one in Florida on a fall break trip with a cousin. And then my youngest, my son, is back at our home congregation. They've got Bible Bowl this afternoon. So we're all split up today, but normally we like to go everywhere together. But it's like you said, I've got a ton to go through. And the last time I was here, I can't remember. I was trying to think. We were looking at our calendar. I think it's probably been since 2018, 2019, since the last time we were here to give an update. And this congregation has been helping support this orphanage, I believe, since 2016 or 2017. It was pretty soon after we opened in January of 2015. So we really appreciate you guys' generosity each and every year, helping with us financially, because this is a work that relies upon other congregations and other individuals. I've heard of orphanages over the years become self-sufficient, but we are by no means anywhere close to that. So it is very important that we get and retain the kind of help that you guys give us each and every year. So I'm going to go ahead and go through. It is Brightland Christian Orphanage. Those of you that may not have been here the last time I was here, if we've got new members or people who haven't heard about this, it is in Cameroon, Africa, and I'll show you a map of that in just a moment. But our motto is nurturing for eternity, and that is the motto that Alangwe Gregory, he is the preacher of the congregation in Watutu, Cameroon. He's also the director of the preaching school. It's a Bear Valley preaching school there in Watutu, and he does all kinds of other things as well. I'll talk about that as we go along. But Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 6 is a very important passage, and one that most of us parents are very familiar with. Train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to train up children in order to love God, to love Christ, to love his word, and become Christians eventually and become workers in his kingdom. So this is a map. It's a little bit more zoomed in. It's kind of the southern part of Cameroon. It's not the greatest picture that I could find, but it kind of gives you an idea of where we are. If you look down toward that bottom left corner where it says Google Earth, you'll see a thumbtack there, and it says Watutu, and then you have Douala to the east of that. Douala is the big city where we fly into when we go and visit. Watutu is about a 2-hour drive to the west, and we are in the English-speaking section of Cameroon. Cameroon is 20% English, 80% French. It's got a lot of history. It's got a lot of history of Britain and France coming in and colonizing at different points in time and things like that. If we go a little further, we see there on this map kind of where it is when we zoom out to see the entire continent. It is bordered by Nigeria on the west. We've got Niger, Chad on the north, Central African Republic, Congo, Gabon. So it's right there in that tropical rainforest belt. It's very close to the equator, and it's very hot, very humid. There's been times where when we are over there, it's actually hotter here, but it just feels that much hotter there. It's just something about the way that the climate is. But if you're not ready to sweat profusely, then you don't go to Africa. It's it's 100% humidity every day, mid 80s. So it feels like it's about 100, 105. But if we go a little bit closer, we see Limbe. This is another big city that's on the coast. This is where we stay. Our hotel is located there, right on the ocean. And before you start thinking, oh, this is a big resort, no. The coast there is very rocky, and it's not the cleanest place in the world. You'll see trash floating all up and down the coast there in Africa. They don't take care of things the way they should, but it is still a very beautiful place. That's where we stay. It's about 15 minutes from Watutu. If you look up there, there's a group of thumbtacks up toward the top. That's where Watutu is. And if we go a little bit closer, you'll see I was able to a few years ago on Google Earth to actually get a little bit closer and get a more defined image. This is Watutu, and you can see a Langway's house, the Watutu Church of Christ, the Brightland Christian Academy, the orphanage, and the Brightland Christian Comprehensive College, which is basically a high school. All of those things are within about a 2-minute walk of each other if you're willing to walk up and down some trails and dodge some corn and tomato plants and a possible 6-inch snail every now and then. Black mamba. I've never seen one of those, but I know they're there. We've actually had a black mamba in the orphanage before that was killed by our house father. So anyway, very exciting things to see over there. It's actually one of the densest populated wildlife places on the entire earth. Like, there's so much stuff there. Sadly, I haven't gotten to see a whole lot of it. But anyway, moving along. I want to introduce to you, some of these people might be new to you since the last time I was here. As far as the staff, Senye is our nurse. She was our first nurse. Since then, she's had some health problems, and she's had some things that have come along that have caused her to get around very slowly. She used to be able to just zip everywhere, but now she's slowed down a lot. Cynthia, which is the one that went over the top of her, she is another nurse that we have employed, and she's probably going to end up being our nurse 100% of the time from now on. She's younger, and she's got a great rapport with the kids. She's already been working with them for a long time now. But we do have a nurse on staff all the time, and our kids get medical care whenever they need it. As I've mentioned in the past, these nurses can give an IV inside the home. We have an office upstairs for the nurse, and they've got a bed to lay down on, and they can give them IVs when they need it. Malaria is a very common thing. All of them get malaria, and when they get what they call fever, which is malaria, they'll go up and get fluids. They'll get the medicine they need. But I can't remember exactly. I think we spend somewhere around $600 a month on medications to make sure that we have what we need to take care of the kids and take care of the staff. Kingsley is the younger brother of Alangwe. He's our security guard. He comes in and works about a 12-hour day every day, checks people in. We want to make sure that we know who's coming in and leaving, make sure they leave. He does a great job. As we move along, we've got Nanny Pauline. She came on a few years ago, but she's a member of the Watutu congregation, and she teaches Bible class for them. But she's a bright spot for our orphanage. She cracks me up. I tell her, "You crack me up, Pauline," and she's like, "What?" They don't talk that way over there. I tell her, I say, "You make me laugh." I say, "Oh, okay." But she is a lively person. You can see from the big smile on her face. But we've got great staff, and we've got people. I don't have them up here this time because this is more of an update, but our normal nannies that we've had since the very beginning, most of them are widows, and we've always been proud of the fact that we employ widows to care for orphans. James chapter 1 verse 27. Most of them are widows. We've actually got one of our widow nannies who actually has her granddaughter with her, living with her in the orphanage. She has her own room, and she sleeps with her because the kids, her son and daughter, can't take care of her anymore. So a lot, some of the things that we experience over there aren't too different from here. Obviously, we have relatives that will take care of people. But given the fact that we're in an orphanage and she only has this small room, it's a very admirable thing that she's doing for her granddaughter. Now, we do have new house parents. You might remember last time I was here at that point, we probably had Mendel and Caddy. They have since moved on to other things. Now we've got Brian and Agnes. Brian is a former graduate of the preaching school there in Watutu. Agnes, she does all of the duties that all the other nannies do. They do a great job with the kids. They live upstairs on the boys level of the house, and they've got 3 kids: Christelle, Nathan, and Joelle. Joelle is just a few months old. Well, back when we visited in June. Desiree is our new social worker. She is a young, vibrant girl. She's still in school at the university in Bouya, and she's studying to be a social worker. Because of the laws in Cameroon, we are required to have a social worker on staff that we pay. I don't know that at this point she is a Christian, but I know that she will be worked on by the staff and by the preachers there, and that hopefully she will be at some point. But she is our liaison between the government and us. We have to be registered with the government to be able to operate. So she's doing a great job as well. Here's a picture of the entire, these are just the nannies, and then we'll have the entire staff come up here in a second. But Henry is our driver. We have 2 drivers. Franklin, who used to be our driver only, he's actually driving for the preaching school, but we still call him our chief driver. He drove us everywhere we went, just about when we went back in June. But this picture is our entire staff, minus Henry. Magdalene and Langway are not in this picture either, but that's out in front of the orphanage right there. Our mission continues to be the same. We talked about Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 6. We want a home in which the Bible is taught daily. That is done every single day, multiple times a day. We want to provide the children with good Christian examples, and we do that by using widowed ladies from the congregation. We also have the preaching students come down to the home. They will do things with the kids from time to time. James chapter 1 and verse 27, Titus 2, 1 through 8. And then we have a structured environment. We want to make sure that that's the case. That's not always the case with a lot of kids. And with our home, we have that structured environment, clear and established rules. Just a quick story I want to tell regarding this. When my daughter and I, my daughter Zoe, she's 16, she went with me back this time in June. It's the first time we've been able to go because of COVID in 3 summers. So over a span of 4 years, we haven't been able to go back. So these kids have gotten a lot bigger, and the twins that we got shortly after I left the last time are now 3 years old. You know, we were hoping to be able to go the next year and hold them as babies and things like that. We weren't able to do that. But when I went this past June, we still had some of the same issues with some of the kids that we've been having over the years, which is not taking care of their things. So just like you would tell a child who maybe destroys a toy or destroys this at your house or something like that, you're going to get onto them and you're going to discipline them, and you're going to make them realize that these things that you have, you didn't earn. They were given to you. They were gifts. They were things that were given to you because out of the graciousness or goodness of people's hearts. So we have window nets on the windows to keep the mosquitoes out. And the mosquitoes are the ones that carry the malaria and all these other things. So we have these window nets on the windows on the outside to keep the mosquitoes out. And so over time, the kids would poke holes with their fingers and make holes. And then we have toilets. We actually have toilets in our orphanage. And most of these kids had never seen a toilet before they came to the orphanage. Recently, after the last time we went 3 or 4 years ago, we got 2 new kids in, 2 new boys from villages far away that didn't have running water, period. They come to the orphanage and they see these shiny white things. They have no clue what they are. And they're actually, ones with the buttons on the top, pretty cool ones, the 1 for this and 2 for this. I don't have to explain that. But they see those buttons and they see these lids and they're like, wow, what is this? And they go over there, play with it, and they push the button, push the button, push the button. Or they take the lid off. It's like, oh, this is heavy. And they drop it and they crack it or they break it. So we've got toilets that are missing lids. They have to turn the water off sometimes because these younger boys that aren't used to this are having to get used to it, and we don't want them tearing it up anymore. So I got the opportunity to be Daddy Jonathan this past June, which that's what they've called me ever since I've gone, Daddy Jonathan. So I got the opportunity to do a little discipline myself. I discipline kids at school where I teach. I discipline my own kids at my house. But to be able to do this may sound weird, but it was special. Okay. These kids that I get to interact with and call my kids, I call them my kids. I love them. but I get to talk to them, and I get to tell them things that they need to know for life, and things that they need to remember as they are Christians, because some of them are Christians now. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I got to do that. I got to talk to them. I got to discipline them in a loving way because of the things and decisions they've been doing. Granted, some of them are brand new to some of these things, and so they're having to be taught. But I got to do that. And I enjoyed being able to do that, not because I wanted to get on to anybody, not because I wanted to be mean or look like I was being serious, but it meant something to me to know that kids halfway around the world, I could sit down and I could know that they would sit there and listen to me and respect what I had to say. And we have people over there, the staff, who do that every single day. They try their best to do that every single day. And of course, the way they handle things is a little bit different than we do. They have switches in worship, but some of y'all might remember me telling you that a few years ago. They'll have people standing up around the kids section in worship, and they'll have switches in their hand. They'll just pop them on top of the head if they start talking. I don't know. Maybe we need to bring it, over to the United States. But they all sit together. And this past time when we were there was over, I believe, 70 or 80 kids just sitting in one section and staying seated and for the most part behaving. But anyway, discipline, structure, that's what we have. Now, our mission continued to make Christians, to bring these kids up in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord so that they'll become Christians. That has happened. Sangha, who is our oldest boy, he became a Christian about 4 years ago. He's been serving in the congregation ever since then. He does announcements. He leads singing. He leads prayers. He does the Lord's Supper. You name it, he can do it. And he's about 16 years old. He's very bold when he does it too. Since then, we've had 6 other of our oldest kids become Christians. So we have 7 total kids now out of our 28 who decided to put their Lord on in baptism. And that's what it's all about. Obviously, it's about giving them a safe place. It's about giving them a second chance at life. It's about giving them food and clothes and love. But ultimately, it's about this. And I want you to know, as a supporting congregation, that the Bible is important to these kids. Hearing about Jesus and God is important to these kids, and it's being done on a daily basis, multiple times a day. Gustav, Georgette on the left, Scola and Elizabeth on the right. Simplice, you saw his before. He was in the water. Ladison, and then Sangha were the 7 who have been baptized so far. And we're so happy for them for that. This was the most recent picture that I took. This is at the very end of our trip in June. This was right the day we were leaving to go to Banga on our last leg of our trip. You can see me there in the back. Zoe, she's kind of right back there in the right. One more quick story, and I have to tell this because I'm probably going to make my wife cry again. When we took this picture, when we finished taking this picture, Scola, she's one of the oldest girls. Over the years, it's hard to get the girls. I don't know what it is. It's hard to get the girls to interact with you. I will look at them and try to make a face and get them to laugh. They'll laugh. They're probably thinking, man, he's a funny looking guy. But they'll cover their face and act like they're all embarrassed and everything. And I'll try to talk to them. And I sound funny anyway. And I'm trying to talk to them about things. And sometimes they're not understanding me because they speak pidgin mostly. But this year was different. I got them to start talking to me. And I thought, you know what? I know how to get them to talk to me. I'll get them to teach me pidgin. So they're trying to teach me different phrases in pidgin, and I'm saying it all wrong, and they're laughing at me, and that's okay, making fun of me. But that opened that door, and we were able to be a little bit more comfortable with each other. The guys, it's just guys being guys. We're hanging out, we're talking and playing games and everything. But over the course of that week, the girls really opened up. And at the end of the week, when we took this picture, Scola turned around, she saw me, and she came up, and she absolutely bear hugged me. And she's about this tall, and she's just grabbing on, and I'm hugging her and I'm patting her, and I'm getting ready to go to somebody else, and I let go, and she's just still holding on for life. I was like, "Oh, let's go. It's gonna be okay. I'll be back next year." And I let go again, and she's still holding on. And she finally lets go, and she looks up at me, and her just Niagara Falls. They knew we were leaving. They knew they wouldn't see us again for a whole year. Whatever we were able to do to connect that week happened. But I don't think it's just that. I think it's just the fact that they know that we love them, and that they know that we want the best for them, and we're going to give them things that we need or that they need. And she was just so upset that we had to leave and didn't want to let go. And that's one of the reasons I do it too. Obviously them becoming Christians is very important, and I want to make sure that they have what they need, but they need those connections too. They need those people that they can grab a hold of and just hug, because they don't do that a lot over there. The culture over there, they don't do a whole lot of hugging. They don't do a whole lot of showing emotion. So when we come, it's like, oh yeah, we get hugs, because they don't. I mean, and don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean that they don't love them over there. Y'all understand what I'm saying, right? It's just it's a cultural thing. But just real quick, here's some pictures. I thought I took those out. Huh. Anyway, the state of BCO right now, we've got 28 kids. Like I said, the children are doing great. Staff's doing great. The structure of the home is the structure of the home. The climate there is very rough on it. They have storms all the time, rainy season. Humidity is horrible. And if you don't get the plaster just right over there, it crumbles like crazy. So we're constantly having to do things to make sure that the home stays the way it needs to. The maintenance budget doubled, just like the medicines budget doubled. Guess why? Inflation. Okay, inflation's affecting them just as bad as it is here. So a lot of things have doubled in price, and that's made it real tough. Children have completed another year of school. All of them passed. Daniela, some of you might know. Did we have Daniela last time I was here? The girl with the stroke-like symptoms on one side. I'm not getting any nods. Okay. So we had a girl come to us. We went to her. She was about 8 or 9 months, or actually she may have been 18 months old when we got her, but she looked like about a 6-month-old. She was literally on death's doorstep, malnourished. Her skin was so light. We got her. She couldn't eat. She couldn't do anything. And we nursed her back to health. And now she's running and jumping and trying her best to talk. She's still having to learn how to talk, but she still has a problem with drooling. We haven't figured out how to control that saliva yet. But the things that she has overcome, we can only give glory to God for that, and the blessings that He has blessed her with. And it's easy for me to say right now, over half of our kids probably would be dead today if they hadn't been introduced to the orphanage. And that should mean something to us, and that should prick our hearts. And I'm just going to go on from that to something else, but I have so much to go over. Y'all need to understand the difference you are helping to make for every single one of these kids. I want you to know that. Exemplary report from the social center. They come and do a report on us every year to make sure the children are doing well and that we were taking care of them the way we should. They do stay out of the spiritual aspect of it. They love the fact that we are a Christian orphanage, but they do stay out of it. That's probably some of you might be thinking that right now, is how much of an impact do they have with the orphanage. They stay out of it. They make sure that we're taking care of them, but we still teach what we teach. We have projects that have already been completed since our trip in June, but I've got a few more that you'll see on the board here in a minute. As far as what we need financially to make some of those projects happen. The crisis, I know that I've talked about the crisis here before. That has not gone away. It's just far away from us. Those of you that are new, it's basically a civil war between some separatists and the English section trying to tell the French government they don't like what they're trying to do. For the most part, the English side of things wishes that they would stop. And I could go in a whole lot on that, but just know that particular crisis and the danger is not necessarily anywhere close to where we are. It used to be, but it's not anymore. So our trip, this is my daughter Zoe. This was us getting off the plane in Douala. I'm just kind of going to go through these. This was Magdalene. She's the director of the orphanage. She's the one that sees to the day-to-day operations, and she couldn't wait to see Zoe. Mackenzie went with me. My oldest daughter went with me a few years ago, back in 2018. And then, of course, they were expecting Zoe to come at some point. And then when she finally came, Magdalene was so happy. She ran to her and gave her a big hug. And this is us walking into the orphanage. You see there a water tower. We collect water throughout the year so that during the dry season, we have plenty of water saved up. This is the security wall that we have. The security wall was built right before the crisis started close to Watutu. That was a blessing. These are the kids. They're greeting us with their songs, with their scriptures. These kids can quote over 100 scriptures. Bang, 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 bang. It's just rattle them off, and that even includes these 3 and 4 year olds down at the bottom. When everybody else is rattling them off, you could hear them yelling them too. This is Zoe presenting all the kids with bracelets that she made for them. She spent several hours making them beaded bracelets that had each of their names on their bracelet to give to them. That was a nice gesture, and they really loved those. So one of the things that we're putting some extra money toward is some vocational training. So a lot of our kids are getting close to the age of high school, if not already in high school. And so within the next few years, they're going to be graduating and then going on their own. We found a place to do some vocational training. Some of the boys especially are really into trying to learn coding and some other things. Technology is a thing over there. I mean, don't get me wrong. We're not out in the bush. A lot of times when people say, well, you're in Africa, you must be out with the lions and the zebras. And no, where we're at is a lot more civil. Okay. There's a lot of big buildings, there's businesses. So that's the kind of the section we're in. So learning these things is going to be helpful to them. And Osanga wants to get into computer programming. And then he also wants to go to preaching school when he gets out of the orphanage. So he's smart. He's trying to learn a lot of these things prior to going to preaching school, because preaching school and going and preaching for a congregation does not support you. The congregation can't support you. They can't afford it. So you have to have something to fall back on to make money on the side when you go to a congregation and preach over in Africa. These are the 7 oldest. One of them's missing right now, but they went to a competition where they do a lot of different things, but they also do some leadership things for the church. Simplice, Elizabeth, Scola, Lady's son, Gustav, and Sangha, and then Georgette is not there. Here's Scola and Georgette right here. Beautiful young ladies. This is Sangha at a leadership summit, basically. It's for young men to basically work on their leadership skills in the church. And they learn how to song lead, they learn how to speak, they learn how to do all kinds of different things. So these are the things that we're also sending them to in addition to what they're getting at the orphanage. New needs going forward. You'll see some of these things that have prices on out beside them. That means that we have not done those yet. You'll see other things that say done out beside it. I'm not going to insult your intelligence of what that means. But we've got 2 new beds that we want to put upstairs with 2 new mattresses. We got a commercial clothes washer we want to purchase. The problem with the commercial clothes washer is we don't know how much it's going to be. But if it's any indication of how much the commercial dryer is, yeah, your jaw would hit the floor. The dryer itself is $16,000. And again, we have 28 people to wash clothes for. So we have this little residential size washer dryer combo, but it's had to be fixed, I think, like 6 times already. Lightning, we have stabilizers that have all of our appliances plugged into to keep the lightning from destroying it. But somehow things keep happening, and we're just spending money. So we're trying to find us a big commercial clothes washer, but if that's any indication, it's going to be very expensive. We just don't have a price for that yet. We still need to put a fan in the nurse's office. We've had the window nets replaced. A new van. I can't explain to you how important this is. We have a van already, and then we've had it for a few years, probably 4 or 5 years. But like I said, the climate there, the roads, God, there's potholes the size of Texas. Okay. We go through brake pads every 3 months. We go through shocks and struts every 6 months to 8 months. It's really hard on them. And if you've ever seen the traffic in a place like that, you literally have motorcycles weaving in and out. Everybody's all together, and it drives you. I mean, I don't know how they drive over there. Franklin's eyes aren't even that great, and he drives at night with rain falling, and he can't hardly see. How they do it, I don't know. But what I'm trying to get to is this: the van that we have now needs a new engine. That's on the other side. I'm going to go ahead and go through these. Needs a new engine. We can't use it right now. So right now we're having to rely on the preaching school van. We're having to rely on Langway's car, Magdalene's car to get them places. And that's just not cutting it. So on Monday morning, tomorrow morning, I'm going to be sending another wire transfer over to pay for this new engine. And what that's doing is that's eating into basically our rainy day fund, because we try to keep at least 3 months operating expenses at all times in our account to make sure if for some reason a 2 or 3 congregations or 2 or 3 families dropped out all of a sudden, we're not scrambling for money. So we're trying to be the best stewards we can of this money, but we have to have a new van. We can't keep throwing money at this other van. We're going to try to keep both vans going, but we've got to purchase the second one to begin with. And so to purchase that van and to get the documents and everything that it takes, it's going to be about $36,500. Continue compiling info for Life After BCO. I was talking to brother. What was your name again? Don Henderson. I was talking to him earlier. One of the things that we're really having to do right now is figure out, okay, what's going to happen with these kids after they leave? When they turn 18 or 20 or whatever it is, we can't just put them out on the street. So honestly, I would like to have another congregation who would say, you know what, we want to take on this work to help them transition from the orphanage to real life. With the preaching school, what they do when they graduate is they give them a stipend to live on for 2 years. They started at this amount, and over time, they decrease it. We're also looking at possibly building apartments inside the security wall where the orphanage is to house some of our young adults when they leave the orphanage so that they can transition, so that they can learn how to live on their own. They may have to go live with other members of the church, but that is a process we're going through right now. That price you see there, $3,481, is for their first year of university at Bowie University. If they choose to go to university, that's for the freshman year. After that, it gets a little cheaper. Like, oh man, I wish it was like that in America, right? But that takes care of everything they need their first year. Preaching school would be free if they choose to go to preaching school. They can also go to technical school, just like here. They can go and learn a trade, and they can learn to do something. But all that is going to cost money. And so we're trying to put a plan in place to see, okay, how is this going to look? And we're not even sure at this point, do we really want the kids to leave at 18? Do we want to make that 20? All right, I was talking to him. Here, we consider our kids 18, or adults at 18. Sometimes I wonder why we do that, because some of them aren't ready. But over there, it's more like 20. So we're looking into that as well. School supplies, clothes, tuition, just to clothe and tuition and get their books and everything they need for this school year, which started in September. It was almost $9,000 to do school for all 28 of our kids. Our eldership at Hillsboro were kind enough to foot that bill because it was going to take me a little while to raise that. So I appreciate that. An electricity stabilizer, when we do get, actually, I'm sorry, she's wanting that for the washer that we have because it just keeps zapping the ones that we have. So another $550 there. At some point, we probably want to do a security camera system. Medicines, home maintenance, van maintenance budgets have increased over $639 over the last few months, basically doubling each one of those three. Like I said, replacing the engine, I'm going to send that tomorrow. Plastering of walls and rooms happens every few months. Bed sheets, daily clothes, new sliding windows. We haven't gotten those yet, but we want to raise the money for those to take care of. Right now, we have glass blinds. They're very cheaply made, and the glass falls out. They break. We have to order new ones. They're not cheap. So we're looking at getting some actual sliding windows that can be open and closed. Vocational training and expand the orphanage. Ultimately, we want the elementary school, the primary school that's inside the wall with us right now to move up the hill. Magdalene and Langway are working on that as we speak. And then eventually want to be able to expand the orphanage. Like I said, possibly build those studio apartments to help these kids transition to life after the orphanage. We don't know what that's going to look like yet, but we want to be able to do that. So along that line, like I said, the congregation here, I believe you've been sending $200 a month to help us with this orphanage. I've got a couple families that help out with us. If there's anybody else that feels the need, or if they see something, a particular project that they'd like to contribute to, or if you'd like to contribute on a monthly basis, now it's $120 a month. And that's actually still not enough. That's up from $100 that we used to do. But because of inflation, we've had to raise that to 120. Magdalene told me it's really more like 130 to be able to provide everything. But if you would like to do that, I would be more than happy to talk with you afterwards. I can leave my cell phone number, my email address. But we are actively looking for funds as we continue to go. All right, I'm gonna zip through these real quick. This is our team this year. There's 9 of us. On the right, I'm not sure if you know them or not. That's the Crowders, Michael and Ethel Crowder. They're from Nashville, Jackson Street congregation, also Woodson Chapel congregation. And then the rest of them pretty much are from Texas or Arkansas. We all come together and go together. This is us arriving on Sunday morning. And it's not wanting to advance. There we go. That's me. I always preach the first Sunday morning. They always ask me if I want to teach class. Teaching class there is a little different. They have a little question and answer session afterwards, and you have no idea what you're going to get. And I'm like, you know what? I'll let you. David Ballard goes with us, and he's been several times, and he's done the class several times, and he's a lot better than me of answering questions on the fly. But I'd be more than happy to preach, and that's what I do every Sunday when I get there. We did have a vacation Bible school. We'll get to that in a minute, but you'll see the large number of kids over there in their section. That's Zoe talking to some of the boys after worship. Usually we take boxes, the big boxes you see at Walmart. We'll take them full of stuff to take to the orphanage, toys, books, clothes, you name it. We've had people make dresses for the girls. Different congregations, girls program will make dresses to take. We take them T-shirts from time to time when they need those. We also take them Bibles for those that were baptized. We take them a nice Bible from the States and put them in a nice case to protect it with their name on it. All 5 days for our vacation Bible school this year added up to over 1,000 kids. Those of you ladies that have taught 2- and 3-year-olds in vacation Bible school, try having 80. That's what I said, 80. 80 2- and 3-year-olds in one class. This was our middle school class. Every day it averaged about 60 or 70. And we hold that at the high school. That's Zoe helping out with the 2- and 3-year-olds. On any given day, there was about 10 or 11 ladies in that 2- and 3-year-old class teaching that class. The American ladies just kind of help. The Cameroonian ladies are the ones that teach because they can't understand a word we say. So they have to be the one to teach the class, but we help them with various things. There's the high school class. Those are the Brother Michael Crowder doing the Wednesday evening service. David Ballard, an amazing man. He's like a father figure to me. Both of my parents are deceased. He's like a father to me. He's like a brother. He's like everything. And we cried and we embraced the day we left to come back because I just love being with him, with his family. Every year we go to Texas to update congregations in Texas, and we stay in their house for 3 or 4 days. I just love the man. He's so talented. He stood up there on that portico for about 7 to 8 hours a day all week just preaching to the people that were waiting to have their eyes checked at our free clinic. These are the people waiting to have their eyes checked. He literally preached for 7 or 8 hours every day to try to bring souls to Jesus. That's us passing out water and bread, or usually it's a roll with chocolate or butter slathered on it. Here's one of the classes. I'm sorry, I've got to go through this very fast. That's Job. He liked to carry my backpack every day. free medical clinic. Like I said, that's Sister Vicki Harris, brother. What is that? Sounds like a radiation alarm or something. I'm assuming that's the bell. Okay. Sorry, I didn't mean to make that sound bad. Every night we ate supper at our hotel. It's usually about a 2-hour affair because it took about an hour to get our food. Just different things around the home. We took footballs, soccer balls, beach balls for them to play with. Zoe was taught some hand claps that they play. Doing Zoe's hair. We were invited to a member's house to eat lunch or supper one day. I was able to help out a sister, Maurice, used to be our driver. He died of cancer, which left her and 2 small children and a baby on the way. And we were able to help her financially. Okay, so I'm going to go through this real quick. I've got a video. I need you to see the video. Please bear with me. This is Daniela. That's the one that had the stroke-like symptoms. She's running and jumping all over the place now. It's amazing. This is Joyce. This is Cornelius. Sorry, this is the McDonald's version of the kids. Sangha. Philemon, not Philemon. Just rest assured, these kids are very well taken care of. You can see they're just their skin looks great. They're healthy. Beneficent. She was one of our original 7. Simplice. You're going to get to see him again in the video. Prestige. Job. Georgette. Oh, and by the way, this slideshow has been copied to the computer here, and I guess I'm on TV right now. Is that right? So you can go back and watch it. Ladyson, one of our girls that became a Christian. Usla. Right. We've talked about the past, the weird, or not weird names, but I mean, for us over here, it would be weird. Some of the names that you've seen. God's Will. Some boys are named God's Will. This is Blessa Dube. And these are the twins. You'll see them as babies in the video, but this is them. They're bigger than that now. But they spent a lot of time in my lap and on my shoulder. Fredo is one of our newest ones. He's one of the ones that didn't know what a toilet was. He was breaking things. And then Rama are 2 of our newest. And then Nancy. Oh, Nancy. Held her all the time too. Just a little bundle of joy. Anytime the kids would work on their cultural program they did, you could see her over there holding on to the couch, just going up and down, dancing. All right, here's the video. Please bear with me. This video was made for you and every other congregation that supports, every family, individual that supports. It was made for you, okay? And when it's done, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm done, and we can be dismissed. If you have questions, I'd be happy to answer. There's a lot of things that I wasn't able to get to today. I could talk for days about this work. So You guys up there, go ahead and get it started. You take it up a little bit more. Thank you.
Thank you for making it possible for us to give the fatherless and deadly father. Very happy to do that.
And introduce them to their heavenly Father. A lovely job.
Thank you. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to nurture these children.
Thank you for providing all our school requirements. We have all our textbooks, exercise books, pen, pencils, ruler, just to name a few.
Thank you for love. Thank you for clean clothes to wear. Thank you for teaching me about God. Thank you for family. Thank you for food to eat. Thank you for brothers and sisters that I know that God should take us so that we should go and continue His work. Thank you for being the one that is clean.
Thank you for employment.
Thank you for giving me God's word. Thank you for parents who love me. Thank you for having faith.
Thank you for trusting us.
Thank you for friends. Thank you for a safe, dry place to sleep. Thank you for friendship.
We thank God for you every day.
Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for security. Thank you for praying for us. Thank you for a church family. Thank you for sending us to school and paying our school fees. We have never missed a class because of school fees. Thank you for a second chance at life. Thank you for everything. Thank you. We love you.
That's good. I can stop it.